Life.
Namanda, 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 namanda. Kansho. Namanda, 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 namanda.
Good morning. Today is September 25th, 2022, and we welcome you to New York Buddhist Church's live streaming Sunday service broadcast on Facebook and YouTube. We will start today's service with quiet sitting. Please sit up straight, gently calm your mind, and follow your breath. Today's chant is JÖ-SEI-GE, Reaffirming the Vows, Nembutsu and Ekoku Transference, followed by Vandana Tisarana. After Vandana Tisarana will be Jodo Shinshu Creed 1, page 12 in English and 11 in Japanese, led by Nobuko Kodama. Reverend Isabelle Shinjo Bernard will then give today's Dharma message. We will end service by singing Nembutsu together. NAMU, AMIDA BUTSU.
JÖ-SEI-GE is on page 93 of your service book.
Nembutsu Namandabs, 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 namandabs.
Everyone please rise for Vandana and Tisarana.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namu Kie Butsu. Namu Kie Butsu. Namu Kie Ho. Namu Kie Ho. Namu Kie So. Namu Kie So. Namu AMIDA. Namu AMIDA. Namu AMIDA.
Please be seated.
Today's reading is a Jodo Shinshu Creed on page 12. First in English, then Japanese on page 11. Jodo Shinshu Creed, number 1. Entrusting the vow of the Buddha and reciting the sacred name, I shall proceed through the journey of life with strength and joy, revealing the light of the Buddha Reflecting upon my imperfect self, I shall strive to live a life of gratitude. Following the teachings of the Buddha, discerning the right path, I shall spread the true Dharma. Rejoicing in the compassion of the Buddha, respecting and aiding one another, I shall do my best to work towards the welfare of society. Japanese on page 11. 浄土真宗の生活信条。一つ、御仏の誓いを信じ、尊い皆を唱えつつ、強く明るく生き抜きます。一つ、御仏の光を仰ぎ、常に我が身を顧みて、感謝のうちに励みます。一つ、御仏の教えに従い、正しい道を聞き分けて、誠の実りを広めます。一つ、御仏の恵みを喜び、互いに敬い、助け合い、社会のために尽くします。アマンダ。
Good morning, friends. It's very nice to see so many people on this beautiful autumn day. Glad to be able to welcome you here. So this will be my first autumn living in New Jersey. We moved there last year. And as we live in very heavily forested land, I'm really looking forward to experiencing it. The beauty of autumn and indeed of living in the Northeast with its 4 distinct seasons is that each season comes in, it's never quite the same. Sometimes the summer extends through September, sometimes there's an early frost. The weather keeps us on our toes, keeps us wondering exactly when the transition will happen, and often by the time it does, we are left exclaiming, "Is it autumn already?" It's really hard to relinquish the beautiful, lush landscapes of spring and summer, isn't it? But each season, winter included, has its own special beauty. Mother Earth is beautiful, no matter what the colors she wears. I've always felt a very deep relationship to the landscape around me. Engaging with the changing seasons brings me the joy of experiencing changing colors, the changing quality of light shifting, and the migration of birds. We can feel it in the air, can't we? The start of a new season. And with it comes our anticipation of holidays and the end-of-year festivities, our home landscape being an important and integral component of all this. So I think we can agree that our relationship to places runs deep in our emotional psyche. I was reading last week about a Roman wall in the town of Chichester in England. And a friend wrote to me that when he'd visited it, the locals were nonchalantly leaning back against it, awaiting for the bus. And he gaped in amazement and admiration of its existence in the present. While our minds live in the present, we are nonetheless surrounded by the past and the potentiality which we call the future. Time, as we normally consider it, is through our human constructs, clocks, timetables, that try to make what is essentially intangible and transient a bit more palatable. It is difficult for us as humans to remain quiescent in the face of continuing uncertainty. We cannot control the passage of time, although our clocks and even the old Farmer's Almanac tell us differently. So this deep relationship we have to places can also sometimes be painful. There's the reality of past events that define places we know in one context, in another. The American South, for example, clings to a plantation reality that was, in context, painful, fraught with suffering and injustice to many. Reverend Gary went this last weekend to a ceremony that was a memorial for people of Japanese ancestry who passed through the United States and wound up in the camps during the Second World War. But we also have a relationship with many places that brings us joy. And we claim these in the context that best suits our happiness. In this, the only time we live in and know directly. It's that experience that we see in the world around us. We see it through the lens of our individual karma. Karma is both the well of experiences we've had as well as the focus we bring to the world. We see what we see and how we see it because of who we are. And the world we inhabit becomes defined by what we notice. We are authors of our own stories, and what we see generally confirms what we believe about who we are. So in beginning our practice as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, we look deeply at first with the same critical, self-focused eye that defines the world we self-inhabit. As our journey progresses and our awareness sharpens, something else comes into focus, something that was always within our circle, but which we may have missed because of the narrow limitations that our focus has. To see the world clearly and in a larger sense, we need to loosen the bonds of our own self-definition, to see ourselves where we did not, and accept what we do not know and what we do not see. It is only then that the circle broadens, allowing for the light of reality as it truly is to penetrate the hard shell of our ego selves. But by beginning to release the bonds of a self-power view, we allow for a glimpse of other power, the dynamic which supports not only myself, but all of life itself, that which we are inconceivably and yet completely interconnected with. It begins to appear on our life's horizon, at first dimly, but then gradually with more clarity. In taking refuge in AMIDA, we allow for a broadening of our inner dynamic, transforming the understanding that defines and shapes our identity. Does this mean we are no longer who we are, that we are dispossessed of our identities of self-centered persons? Probably not. But by accepting our self-created limitations, we open up to the power beyond self, and we come to see that we are, at once, the locus of infinite compassion, and yet also a part of something much larger than we can define with our limited senses, emotional attachments, yearning, and yes, even our intellect. I think of this place, the New York Buddhist Church, as my spiritual home. I often call it AMIDA's house. But really, that's too limiting a concept, isn't it? My self-centered perspective defines New York Buddhist Church in terms of its relationship to me and my experience with you, our Sangha. And indeed, this building that we are fortunate to meet in is not merely a building, but a valued place where we find warmth, friendship, understanding. Though intangible, these conditions put us at ease, make us feel safe and loved within these walls. And so we may consider it a spiritual home, as it is a place that grounds us, welcomes us, and accepts us just as we are. But we should also remember that AMIDA's house has no actual boundaries, is limitless, vast, inconceivably so. that is the dynamic nature of AMIDA's compassionate embrace, which we first experience upon entering these halls. Although our senses are quite limited, somehow, even with our misperceptions limiting our understanding and shading our perspective, we are aware that there is something unlimited, vast, all-encompassing, which calls us all home. And this journey homeward, experienced within the context of our lives, brings us closer to awakening to what is true and real. That is, Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. Within Nembutsu, listening deeply, we may hear our voices resounding with true and real life, which is all around us, and of which we are also a part. Shinran Shonin, our founder and guide, said, "The universal vow, difficult to fathom, is indeed a great vessel bearing us across the ocean difficult to cross. The unhindered light is the sun of wisdom dispersing the darkness of our ignorance. This radiant light, unhindered and inconceivable, eradicates suffering and brings realization of joy. The excellent name, perfectly embodying all practices, eliminates obstacles and dispels doubt." Please join your hands together in Gassho. Touching the foundation of my existence, what we call in our tradition of Shin Buddhism, Amida Buddha, I find deep meaning in NAMU AMIDA BUTSU. Being myself NAMU, self-centered, limited in perception and understanding, I take refuge in AMIDA with confidence, sincerity, and gratitude, expressed by the saying of the honored name, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Butsu. Thank you. Everyone please rise. We will now have our Gathas, Namo Amida Butsu on page 174, followed by Nembutsu on page 169.
AMIDA Butsu. Namo AMIDA Butsu. Please be seated.
So it is at this point in our service where we like to have the opportunity to greet anyone who may be new to our temple or visiting from another temple. Anyone here who's visiting or new? Everyone's an old timer. Glad to see you all back. All righty. Let's see. So, do we have any announcements? Any announcements? Next week is Shotsuki. Yes. Next week, as always, in the first week of the month, is our Shotsuki Hoyo, monthly memorial service. And we have a special guest speaker, the Reverend Todd Tsuchiya of Twin Cities Buddhist Sangha, who has recently received his Kyoshi certification as a Jodo Shinshu minister. This is the second level of ministry, which one can become ordained in, and it qualifies you then to become a Jushoku, a assigned minister by BCA. To head up a temple. So we will be seeing a lot of Reverend Todd in the future. He will be working at Midwest Buddhist Temple, as well as continuing to help us in the Eastern District, as Reverend Ron, who we met with recently, nears his retirement, which we're all waiting with, not great joy, Reverend Ron. I threaten that I'll be holding on to his bootstraps because he's a very valued Dharma friend and has given a great deal to our Eastern District. So let's see. So we're looking forward to seeing Reverend Todd. His talk will not be in person, will be Zoomed, but we can watch it as usual on our YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as in person. Because we will be having our regular in-person Shotsuki Hoyo service as well. And following that, in the month of October, actually mid-October, I believe it's on the 16th, we will have our Eitaikyo service. And this is one of the main services that we have, which is basically a perpetual sutra chanting service for all of our beloved and honored family, friends, relatives who have gone to the Pure Land before us. So please bear that in mind. That's an important service coming up. So I'd also like to thank today John Skelly, who played the piano for us at service, and our greeters, who are Hiroki Hasagawa and Ruth Funai. Thank you both. And as always, our wonderful tech team, manned by David Brady and Carl Palma. And I'd like to thank my fellow minister, Cheryl Joko Ikimiya, for helping out with service, as well as Dr. Nobuko Kodama-san. Thank you so much. And we were also helped. Yes, I know. I was getting around to it. I didn't forget her. And I'd also like to thank Maiko, who helped us prepare the altar today, and who may be in training to be a minister's assistant. So we'd like to thank her. And as always, I'd most of all like to thank all of you for attending service today and for joining us and making the service possible, because it is due to all of you, your interest, your attendance, your devotion to the teachings, and your listening, that the service becomes meaningful. And you can, as always, watch this on, or follow us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is New York Buddhist Church. And also, we maintain a library on our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/c/New York Buddhist Church. And if you do go to our webpage, which is newyorkbuddhistchurch.org, you can find an application for membership. We really love to have you join our church and support us. So you can find all the benefits of membership as well as an application On that page, there's also a link to contribute to service by either PayPal or credit card, or can send us a check. And we're very, very grateful for your support, which helps us maintain this facility. As an aging building in New York, there's always something that needs to be repaired. So we look forward to seeing you next week, and thank you so much again for your attendance today. Please join me in closing Gassho. Grateful are we for the opportunity to join together, to hear the words of the Buddha, and to recite the holy name, NAMU AMIDA BUTSU, NAMU AMIDA BUTSU, NAMU AMIDA BUTSU, NAMU AMIDA BUTSU. Enjoy fall, and don't forget to reset your clocks when that rolls around.